Blog Talk Radio.
Gary, my friend, who's with me now, came up from Virginia, and it was a long drive, wasn't it, Gary?
Absolutely. A lot of traffic on the New Jersey Turnpike.
And this was the first time you've been into the we call it the Bayshore area, but tonight it's Highlands. Highlands is special. Highlands is where we are right now. What do you think of the area?
Well, you should call it paradise. It's just a real gem here. And I look around and I see what's been done here, and you think of all this community's been through with Hurricane Sandy and all that. It's amazing to me how the community has bounced back. And from talking to some of the folks that we met at dinner, it's been primarily the citizens themselves being human beings, which is our topic tonight, and pulling together, helping each other out, and moving this community forward.
Well, I think the community right now is torn, quite frankly. I hear we have 3 candidates for mayor. You actually met one of them tonight.
Yes, I did.
And I told people, I indicated on Facebook that I'd give them some indication of the kind of mayor or the person I was leaning toward. And our topic was the art of being human. How do you relate a mayoral campaign with the topic that we've talked about tonight? You wanted to talk about the art of being human.
The key to this area is it really kind of has hit me recently with all that's going on, both nationally and locally and everywhere. Is just the rhetoric that's going on, and I think we've lost as a country some of the ability to know we're all Americans, we're all working together, yet we all have different approaches to how we should get moved to where we all want to go. And we all want to live a healthy, happy life. We want to care for those, our family members and others we care about. And so why not come together in a different spirit and be more human about our values? I think I should set this up by telling about my mom, who is passed now from pancreatic cancer, sadly. But when I was getting ready to go to college, I'm from a small little rural farm town in Illinois. She pulled me aside and she said, "Now, Gary, you're going to go to college, and from a town of 800, she said, you're going to meet a lot of people. They're going to be in all sizes, all shapes, all races, all colors. But what you got to think about, they're all human beings. And that's the way you should look at everyone, that they're inherently good. Let them determine who they are."
Well, that seems kind of like a fluffy philosophy, no disrespect, but, it would be great if we could all just be nice and be fully human and fully capable of that kind of empathy to our fellow human beings. But we have too many differences. We are distrustful of color. We are distrustful of issues. We are distrustful of people who don't even, who live in another town or even another state. Even as a teacher, I have other teachers who, believe it or not, are competitive and are very distrustful. So what is the art of being human? How do you kind of figure all that out?
The art is in anchoring back to the values. Yes, we have differences, but really when you dig down, and everybody I have come in contact with, you really get down to it, the basic values that people have are the same, and where they want to go is basically the same. They have different experiences to where they are now. The key is, and the key for any leader, like the new mayor of Highlands, it will be how can you bring all of that together? How you can get down to the basic values, the basic vision of where people want to see this community go. And it's a beautiful community that could just, the world needs to see what's going on here. How do you bring that together in a way that protects the history and the quietness of the town, yet is dynamic in the economic development side?
But you have certainly a lot of experience in national politics, and you've met a lot of presidents and a lot of leaders in your life and through your profession. What are some of the common characteristics of some of the leaders that you think, without naming names, have been effective characteristics for a leader?
Well, I think it's a basic belief in America and a belief in the values of freedom and liberty, and the fact that the real value, the real intellect of this country is in the people. And you got to respect that, and you got to empower it.
But do we look then for a leader that knows how to empower that and the people that are in the society or in the community?
And to be able to bring people together in a room to talk and to say, okay, and don't start out with I'm here and you're there. You start out with what is our dream and where do we want to go, and then you lay out I'm here, you're there, and then lay out what do we agree on. It's all about collaboration. It's all about working together, and it's not a foreign concept. It's not something we can't do. It's
so if we're looking at a leader, if we're looking at a candidate to be a leader, we'd look for some reasonable collaboration or some evidence of a collaborative history in the way they went about things.
Yeah.
Someone that listened, that actually tried to get answers, tried to get comments, and even if they were different, tried to get that out of them.
Exactly. The mayor of a town like Highlands needs to be a catalytic type of individual. Someone that doesn't have a thin skin, someone that can take diametrical views and see about where there might be some common ground. So that's the brick we put in. Okay, we all agree on this. Put that brick in, and then you figure out where the next ones are. So you, as a mayor and as a leader, you have to be an empowerer of the leadership that exists in the community, and that is the kind of person this community needs. Someone who can do that, who has demonstrated that. And if I were a voter, I'd really dig into that. I think you have three candidates, and who is the person who understands how to bring that about?
What do you, listeners, if there are listeners, what do you think is a good quality for a mayor? It sounds like what you're talking about, too, is someone that, can take all of the ideas and listen to people and really have a strong conviction and sort of be non-competitive in the way they apply those views to a single solution to a particular problem. Not all problems are solved by the same solution. People have different ideas for different things. Do you believe that candidates should be very specific in what they're going to do for the town? Should we be specific? Should we be suspicious, for example, of a candidate that does not have specificity in their rhetoric?
They should be specific in the process around which they will gain cohesive community, a group where they all see the community is important. Just like in America, we need our leadership to look at what's best for America, what's best for people who happen to be not as well off as others, and so forth and so on. How can we build people up, not bash people down to achieve that, but build people up. And so what you're going to want is to know, does that mayor, 1, 2, 3, do they know how to do that? Can they do that? Can they facilitate that process? Do they have a personality that can do that? That can have a chemistry where you can get people in the room that might start out yelling at each other, but by the end of it, they said, yes, we all can agree on that.
You talked about values. We've got three candidates, Deborah Kane, Douglas Card, and Frank Nolan. They're all pretty good speakers. They all, pitch a good story for why they should be mayor for various reasons. How can we distinguish, the political rhetoric from the truth? How can we get to the core of what this person represents so that we can understand who to vote for?
Well, first of all, I don't know any of them. I think the key to start with is to wipe away the political or the labels. Let's put the labels. And that's what the art of being human is all about. Think of that person as a human being from the beginning. They're not Republican, they're not Democrat, they're not independent, they're not conservative, they're not liberal, they're not man, they're not woman, they're, all these things. Wipe all that out and hear them and what they're all about, from their value structures, their dreams for the community, and more specifically, how they want to go about rallying this community. Quite frankly, I'm impressed with how the community has come together, even with all the tragedy that's befallen this community of Highlands. But yet you can still feel an energy here. I think people are trying to figure out how can we kind of get grounded and go forward. And so the mayor needs to harness that. And when you listen to them, if independently or if they ever get together to discuss about Highlands in the future, how do they want to harness that to go forward? It's people that a mayor needs to be someone who is in touch with the citizens of the community. And you need to feel like they're listening and they hear you and they're taking it into account.
Gary, it seems like an awful lot of work to analyze the political rhetoric and do an analysis of who's got the best plan. And I mean, it really seems like we have to rely on pundits, or we have to rely on somebody who is paying attention. It seems like a lot of work to figure out who to vote for. What are some techniques that we can employ to be better informed? And I understand listening to them and analyzing them, but my God, can't we just put a lie detector on them or something, or some kind of machine that'll just say this is your best candidate?
If we did that, they'd be going off all the time, probably. But the key is, in terms of looking at people, is really getting at a layer below what they feel is needed. It's what is the basic core of this community, and where does it want to go in facilitating that? Not I'm going to do I think it needs this, I think it needs that. No. What do you base that I think it needs on? Have you talked to the people? Have you gotten them all together? Is that what they think? Where is it centered on that? And you talk about it being a lot of work, John. How much work do you think you should put in on your children's future?
Well, let me tell you, I actually told people that as a teaser to this program that I would give them some indication of where I'm leaning. And I'm going to have to do this very deftly because I have tried to stay out of the political fray of this town.
And that's good.
And I've been lucky enough to be friendly with all three candidates. I'm privileged to say that. I'm privileged to know somebody that sort of came out of the blue, an independent candidate, Doug Card, and Barbara, of course, both wonderful people. And a very interesting movement, this independent movement. I hope somebody can call us tonight and tell us what it is and what it's about. That would be wonderful if you could do that. Secondly, Frank Nolan. I've known Frank as a mayor for a year and a half. I've watched him. I've seen him. I've been complimentary. I've been critical. But, that's the way it is when you're a public figure and you're in the limelight doing the Lord's work, so to speak. You're going to get criticized. But, Frank has done a pretty good job, I think. There's always room for criticism. And I think it's difficult to run for re-election. There's something easy about it, but there's something hard about it. You're not only trying to be the mayor, but you're also campaigning. And, oh, by the way, you also have a job. So I give a lot of credit to Frank, regardless of his motives and regardless of his effectiveness. And I would say that about all the candidates as a general rule of thumb. Rebecca Kane is, what I hear about Rebecca, marvelously, refreshingly honest. Cares, is concerned. She is the Democrat in this campaign. Frank is the Republican, and Doug is, of course, the Independent. And Rebecca is just a pleasure and a joy. She's been the president of the Highlands Council for the last 10 or so years, and has held a lot of leadership positions in a lot of different things. What I like about Rebecca is she listens. She's a very good listener. what I like about Frank is Frank sort of gets it. He's done this. He's kind of run through the hurricane, and so has Rebecca. They both have. They've earned their spurs, I guess. And Doug is a relative newcomer, but Doug has passion and has an interesting point of view. And he's going to be my guest Sunday at 3:00. So, who do I favor? I think that Gary, I want to ask you your opinion on this. The leadership positions, whether it's at the national level or at the local level, have become exceedingly complex jobs.
They're hard jobs, yeah. I mean, it's no picnic because I think in the mayor's case here, it's not what you call a career position, in other words, there's not a big pay for it. You volunteer to take on the midnight calls about this and that and all the other things going on. The kind of person that should be in that role is someone who can see themselves as a catalytic role, someone who can take that call, be happy that somebody sees them as someone who can do something about their cat in a tree or whatever it might be, or something more serious, and get something done. And also at the same time look at the infrastructure about what's going on. Why is this happening? Why whatever it is happening? What are the issues to make this community move forward, yet keep its, you almost say, historical, you couldn't say it's historical value, as well as stay in the gem. A gem means you want a lot of people to see it, but you also want it to be pure. And so you have probably people, I don't know this, but you probably have people in this community who say, I don't want any development whatsoever. Let's just keep it as quiet little town. And you have other people say, we're all going to die. The community is going to die as we know it unless we can have some commerce in here mixed with the gem of this community and how pristine it is and how unique it is. And I can say from just being here my first time, and I wouldn't have been here, John, if it wasn't for you. And yet now that I'm here, I said, why didn't I go here before?
Exactly. And it's funny, just to get off on a little bit of a tangent with regard to Highlands. We've been saying this for, at least a quarter of a century, if not more, maybe a half a century. We've been saying, yes, that Highlands is the undiscovered gem of the Jersey Shore. But now we're trying to create a new persona that Highlands is not only a gem unto itself, but it's part of a vast new tourist destination that we're trying to stimulate some tourism in, and that's the Jersey Bayshore.
Well, you've got a dynamic history here. And, you were pointing out all the World War II things that happened here, which, for me, it just was very exciting to me because I'm kind of into that since my dad was actually in the Atlantic Coast Patrol in a submarine helping to protect this area during the war for German U-boats that might come in here and all that. But beyond that, so you got that. You got the beautiful, it's excellent, gorgeous area. It's just awe-inspiring to see, this area plus the New York skyline and the new tower coming up where the Twin Towers fell, and all of that. It's just stimulating to be here and to see how unique a community this is. And I think more people need to discover it, and this community should embrace that along with the certainly their desire to keep it pristine and the gem it is.
The job of mayor in this town, I think, is probably bigger than anybody. It's a very, very difficult challenge that we have as a town. I think being the mayor in a town like this is almost impossible. And I think with great respect to Doug and to Deborah and to Frank, I don't know if any of them can do it. This is a job that requires somebody who will get the work done. You know, the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems, and it's all interrelated, it all starts with the Atlantic Ocean and the Shrewsbury and Mother Nature. If we don't find a way to stop, or as they say, mitigate the flooding, this town ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. You know, you're not going to have residents here. You're not going to have businesses here. You're not going to have people coming for vacation. You're going to lose businesses if they get flooded out one more time. We lost a lot of businesses in this flood. The clam hut's been raised. It's gone. Doug's original oyster, gone. You know, God bless some of the restaurants that came back, but if you don't mitigate the flood, now I understand we're waiting for the Army Corps of Engineers. There's a meeting on the 28th, and the town will listen to what the Army Corps of Engineers says, and then we'll go through the process. Who among these three leaders is strong enough to lead us as a town into the future? Gary, still I beg the question, should we be looking for specificity from these candidates? And quite frankly, not all of them have the answers. So what is the most important quality for a mayor that wants to lead this town into the 21st century with some very serious issues like flooding? I mean, do we need a floodologist for a mayor?
Well, first of all, does this community take its problems seriously?
Yeah.
Really? Someone at the restaurant we were at today said something that I kind of took exception to in a way, but she was talking about Churchill being the right leader for the World War II, but he wasn't a peacetime leader. But if you think about the peacetime needs as a war against the negative things that are happening, so the same tactics really applied. It's just no one thinks of it that way. For some reason, the pressure of the war, people can think of the tactics to get done and defeat the enemy. So the enemy here, one enemy is the possibility of another standing. One enemy is attracting business back here. One enemy is, it's not really an enemy, but it's a desire for people to keep the pristine idea of this community, yet help it grow. And yet, then the kind of leader you need for a mayor is the kind of people that can attack, or the issues that this community faces, almost like a wartime type of leader. And you got to think of it that way.
Absolutely, and I can tell you, there's good leaders in peacetime and good leaders in war, and they're not necessarily interchangeable. They're really not.
Correct. And we were fortunate, quite frankly, when Eisenhower got a hold of this thing, and he come out of doing the brilliant job, and it wasn't easy, as you know from history, to keep all those crazy egos together to defeat Nazi Germany. And so he came out of that and had more of a challenge, really, in trying to manage the country than he did in managing all these egos relative to attacking the Germans, you see. So, unless we're fighting an alien.
Yeah, but his real strength was his connection with the people. He propped up the people. He made England proud. He made them see the vision. They own the vision. They own the vision of not being overcome by Germans. And I mean, if you ever watch the Frontline documentary on the bombing of London, it's awesome. You wonder how those people could survive something like that. Well, Churchill was the reason.
First of all, the mayor cannot do everything. There have got to be people on the city council. There've got to be people, certainly in the engineering department, OEM, and emergency management. Not to discount our town administrator, Tim Hill, who runs the town. I think that an effective leader has to carry the vision of the people and for the people. The mayor has to ignite the town and bring it together, and there is strength in unity. And if the mayor can find unity in the town, and then orchestrate the implementation of what the city wants and what the mayor believes, then I think we got something.
Well, the mayor has to represent the humanity of Highlands. And it's been demonstrated, thanks to Sandy. Maybe they didn't see it as much before, but this community really did pull together. Somebody commented on that tonight, remember, at dinner? That really what we've done so far has been us. It wasn't somebody else from on high. It was us. And so that's where the real essence of leadership relies, on the basic essence and humanity of people. And that core, if it still believes in itself, is what gets the job done. So a mayor shouldn't even think of themselves as an expert. They should think of themselves as a catalytic person who can pull all the expertise together, knowing what the issue is.
Yeah, because
and a different expertise depending on the issue.
You're standing on top of the shoulders of you're only as good as your staff that supports you. You're only as good. If you've got a staff that's going in the other direction, then you're lost. If you've got people that are going in the other direction, you're only as good as how you can corral those people and empower them with the same vision and get them passionate, almost like a come to Jesus meeting, get them empowered and passionate about their community and their lives and everything they want to bring to the table.
Well, we've got three candidates, a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent. They all want to be mayor for different reasons. And I think that, what we really want to try to do in the show is to kind of help voters look at certain criteria to decide who to vote for. It's interesting that when you have an incumbent has an advantage in an election and a disadvantage in the election. The advantage is, obviously, this is a mayor that's been the mayor, had the experience to be the mayor. If I were to look at it in a negative way, I'd say it's the devil you know. However, the disadvantage is there may be some people that don't like the job that he did or just want to change or aren't satisfied with the pace of change and need some fresh blood. What do you think, Gary?
Well, a real leader is a person who does not take the credit. And so it's a person who says, we did it. I don't know any of these three people, but as you hear them talk in various mediums here before this election, all of them are going to be on your show, right?
Yes.
Hear what they say regarding embracing the people. We are going to do this. Because one person does not have all the expertise or all the answers. They're not a dictator.
No.
It really hit me recently about we're not going to go anywhere if we're all calling each other terrorists and we're all racist and we're all this and we're all that. You're already negating the ability to talk to get to the common ground.
Yeah, because
that's what means being human. We got to say, okay, wait a minute, back up. Take all the labels off. We're all human beings. What is the issue? How do we feel about that and resolving it? And then what is our common ground to get there?
You have to have the basics of respect. And that's a basic human characteristic of respect. Now, I have worked for a lot of military people. Colonels, generals, admirals. I may not like them personally because some of them have horrible personalities. But I have to respect the office, and I have to respect the rank. And it's the same thing whether it's the head of the Democratic, House and Republican House, and the same thing with the Senate. But certainly the president, the vice president. You may not like them. You may think they're total buffoons, socialists, whatever. But you have to respect the office and the position and the title that they've been given. Because once you stop that, then that's why you have this deterioration into all of this name calling. I never saw this kind of stuff. There might have been name calling in the background with Reagan and all these, but you never saw them come on onto national TV and call each other these horrible, horrible names ever.
And you've had a unique experience being in a really key role in a key entity of this country, and that's the Pentagon. And you're right. You've got to respect the positions they're in, and so the only way that citizens, let's say in Highland, they need to, let's say they differ from the current mayor or whatever, they need to have productive ways of putting their ideas in play. It's not calling the mayor racist or Al-Qaeda or whatever it is, but it's saying, okay, I know you've done this. Now, on the mayor's side, in the art of being human, what you should do is lay out, here's the thoughts. And I'm going to have this town meeting. I want to hear you all. Then we'll come out with something. I want to get your reactions. It's an evolutionary process. And then get back to people saying, okay, I know you said this, but this is where we think we got to go for these reasons. And that doesn't happen. It's just like this vague thing, name-calling, decision, off we go, and nobody that's had input have any satisfaction in the fact that they had a piece of the decision. And so that's what creates this rift between right, left, to women, men, gay, straight, you figure it out.
Yes, and there's a lack there's a lack of tact now, and there's no break on the mouth, and no break on the brain either. And here's the thing: if you stop, I'm going to use there's a wonderful book by the Dalai Lama. It's called The Art of Happiness. And I also have another Native American book called The Wind Is My Mother. Mm-hmm. Still, and there's two things that I take away from both of those books, and one of them is if you the Dalai Lama comes from a perspective of kindness and compassion. If you stop before you say anything negative and say, is this kind, is this compassionate, you will never say what you originally intended to say. Negative. You won't do it because your brain will stop you. This is not kind, this is not compassionate. And it's the same thing with the Native American. The author is dead now because he was in his 90s 10 years ago when he wrote it. And his great-grandmother was on the Trail of Tears, and that horrible, horrible march. In fact, his grandmother was buried along the Trail of Tears. And one of the sayings that she passed down was walk in beauty. And if you say that, if you adopt that as your mantra, walk in beauty, you can't be negative. You can't be calling somebody names. You're just not going to do it. And so if people would kind of go into that kind of more positive thinking before they speak, I think we could just, get rid of a lot of this. And
I do too. And I think that's where we got to go.
Stop watching trash TV because everybody trashes everybody on TV.
Well, yeah, you can't do that, and I'm thank you said that you said that, because I think and it's the last. I hope we can finish off with this, but I think the media has been very bad in that they have manifested the differences rather than manifested the common ground, and so they do it because they want to whip up. I guess readers, listeners, and viewers, and all that.
The ratings. They're only interested in ratings because ratings equal money. So it's really not about news. It's not about news anymore. It's about a show.
No, it's absolutely not. Everybody is the.
Well, I do want to say I think that we're sort of delving into some national politics, and that's all true, and that's all very interesting. For Highlands, it's local politics, and local politics and national politics can be extremely different.
I understand that,
and I think Republicans at the local end of the Republican Party can do things that national Republicans cannot, and I think the same is true of Democrats.
Well, I understand that, John, but you have a paper, I assume, in this town.
A what?
A newspaper.
No, we don't have a newspaper. We're too small.
You don't even have a newspaper?
We used to have something called the Highlands Times or I don't know something.
And you don't have what is your key radio station?
This radio station right here. This is it. This is the Highlands.
Okay, well you're bipartisan. So that's good.
I'm actually tripartisan.
But the point is, every entity that communicates, and in your case, maybe here in Highlands, and that's kind of a refreshing thing. It's internet. It's mouth to mouth, like we did today, walking up and down your street.
We never did that, Gary. Did you bring
I thought it was really great today. We walked up and down the street, and these people have been through a lot. And the fact that they had the attitude that they had and the belief in this community, I think that's huge.
What did you notice about the interaction that we had with the people? We've had a lot of people walked up to us. We walked up to a lot of people. What did you notice? Any common?
Number one. Hello, how are you? Okay? There wasn't a person that didn't try to avoid us or anything like that. It was always, hello, how are you? How are you doing? Blah, blah. And so I like that aspect. It really felt cohesive, that the people know each other. Right. You know how many blocks in this country of America don't even know each other door to door? Sure. That's not your issue.
Absolutely.
Up and down this block, who have been really hammered for quite a while now, since Sandy, and yet I think that bonded you more than divided you.
Karen, let me ask you, you are in the Pentagon every day in a windowless part of the Pentagon. Without giving away any top secret information, what can you tell us about the Pentagon? How long have you worked here? How big is it? How many employees are there? What do you do?
Well, there's about 26,000 employees that go into the Pentagon every day. That's a whole lot of people. So when you were talking about a government shutdown, that was a whole lot of people let go.
Mm-hmm.
Whole lot.
Well, you were affected by the government. You were affected by the government shutdown. Yeah,
I was. Yeah. Yeah, I went home for 4 days. Thank God for the Affordable Military Pay Act, or whatever that was, POMA, the Payment of Military Act. That's what brought us back to work. Also, I think we have a very, very intelligent Secretary of Defense in Hagel, and he got with the Justice Department, got that legal team involved, got his own Pentagon lawyers involved, or his own Secretary of Defense lawyers, and they interpreted the language of that act the same way, which is what brought all the Department of Defense employees back into the Pentagon, and into the services as well. So all DOD, just about all DOD, personnel went back to work, and also are being paid because we're under that Payment of Military Act, because we directly support the military.
Right.
So that was the interpretation of the Justice Department. So thank goodness for us, but I did feel really bad. State Department, Homeland Security, FEMA, all of those, did not get back to work until yesterday. And because of that,
I heard that.
Their pay will be delayed, but at least I got, I'll be getting a full paycheck, next week. I got a very, very, it's only 1/4 of my paycheck, last week. But some people didn't get anything, so,
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure glad you called. You've been up here a few times as my guest, and hopefully you enjoyed it. I think you did. What did you like? We've only got a couple of minutes. What did you like best? What did you like best about Highlands? Besides me,
well, of course. I like. I love the sea glass.
Don't let that hate you.
No, I just love the fact that you got the beach, but you also got the little hills, the proximity to New York City, just a very small but very, to me, very friendly community. But I think there's beautiful trails, bike trails, hiking trails, just all the beaches, the fact that the sailing, I love sailing, the boats, but you've got so many different bays there and so many different opportunities. you know, the only thing that New Jersey doesn't have going for it is their high taxes. So talk to Governor about that. The taxes are higher than they are here in Virginia. They're a killer.
Karen, thanks so much for joining us, and Gary, so glad that you could be here to be part of the show. Maybe we can get
glad to be here. I look forward to coming again.
I just want to thank everybody for listening. I know a lot of you will listen on the rebroadcast. Just really make a thoughtful decision about the mayor. If you don't know, ask questions. Listen to the 40 or 39 questions I asked them. I think if you listen carefully to the important questions, look for, you'll learn a little bit more. Listen for specificity. Gary, one more thing.
Yes, eliminate all labels, listen to 3 human beings, and make your vote.
And I think it's an important election. You've got a write-in candidate, Doug Carr, independent. You have someone who's been the president of the council for 10 years, Deborah Kane. You've got somebody who's been the mayor for a little while and took us through the hurricane a bit, and that's Frank Nolan trying to be reelected. They all 3 have their own unique points of view. It's up to us to figure out who it is. And if it's not them, then find somebody else, but don't not vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain about our situation. So I want to thank you all for coming. Gary, thanks again. And Karen, thank you for being our guest. We love you all. Next week, Sunday, Bayshore Talk Radio with Doug Card. Good night, everybody.